It's quite something when two major global players, the US and India, suddenly hit their worst diplomatic and trade crisis in like 2 decades. Today, we're diving into that staggering 50% tariff the US slapped on India. It's really sparked a firestorm.
It really has. And this isn't, just a simple trade dispute. This deep dive, it's showing us an energy shock that's actively reshaping global alliances. It forces everyone to ask some tough questions about partnerships, about economic independence. We'll unpack it all, how we got here, the immediate fallout, and what it really means for global trade, and honestly, for how you understand geopolitics today.
Okay, so let's break it down. The crisis, it really escalated back in August 2025. The US first hit Indian exports with a 25% kind of reciprocal tariff. Then they added another 25% penalty, specifically because India kept buying Russian oil. That's a massive 50% total duty, among the highest the US has on any trading partner.
And India's reaction was pretty firm, wasn't it? Calling the measures unfair, unjustified, and unreasonable. That got a lot of attention. They're basically saying, look, our energy policy is our own business. It's essential to keep energy affordable for 1.4 billion people, especially with global supplies being so shaky. But here's the real head scratcher. U.S. officials, like Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen back in 2022, they seemed okay with India buying Russian oil then. So you have to ask, what actually changed?
Exactly. It's really perplexing because this happens despite, decades of the US and India getting closer, building things like the Quad, mostly aimed at balancing China. But India, well, it's always pursued its own path too, that strategic autonomy idea. Deepening ties with Russia, with BRICS, that's obviously caused some friction. There were maybe even little signs before, like PM Modi politely declining President Trump's dinner invitation back in June 2025. Maybe this was brewing.
That's a really good point. Challenges this idea that long-term strategic goals always win out over immediate economic needs or historical ties, especially when energy is involved. And looking beyond the headlines, the markets, they've certainly reacted. We're seeing this macro tension, higher fuel prices feeding inflation in both countries. Equity markets too, the Nifty Y down Nifty Y PCT percent, Sensex down Sensex PCT percent, just reflecting all this uncertainty. And these tariffs, this 50%, it directly hits about 20% of India's exports to the U.S. That sends ripples, through supply chains.
Right, but the potential hit to India, that's where it gets really serious, isn't it? I mean, some are saying these tariffs could put up to 70% of their U.S. exports at risk. That's triggered warnings, like from the Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relations, saying diversify, reform trade, fast. Even companies like Hosha and Cradlewise, who were looking at India for supply chains, well, those plans have stalled. Former U.S. Ambassador Kenneth Jester called it a significant setback. He pointed out India got put in the same high tariff bracket as Syria and Myanmar. Meanwhile, Pakistan got lower tariffs.
Which raises big questions about alignment, doesn't it? You had Nikki Haley warning that undoing 25 years of progress with India would be a huge strategic mistake, saying India is the only real counterweight to China and Asia. And then domestically in India, we've seen protests. Farming groups in Punjab criticizing what they see as, Western hypocrisy. Think about that, farmers protesting a complex global trade issue. Shows how deep this cuts.
So where does this leave things? Mid-August 2025, those 50% tariffs are still there. No formal resolution. This whole standoff, it could really push India to rethink its foreign policy, maybe lean more towards Russia or China, or just double down on navigating this fragmented world differently.
Yeah, but there's another angle too. Some people, like Uday Kotak, the founder of Kotak Mahindra Bank, they see this major shock as, well, maybe an opportunity. He framed it as a chance for India to, quote, get out of our comfort mindset. He's urging the government to push support towards smaller businesses, MSMEs, to really turbocharge manufacturing, R&D, tech. It could be a wake-up call, A push for India to really focus on productivity, efficiency, building global brands. Using this challenge to maybe leapfrog the middle-income trap through diversification.
Yeah. Wow. This deep dive really shows how fast trade tensions can blow up into this complex geopolitical game. Forces nations to completely reevaluate who their friends are, what their strategies are. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What really stands out to you as the most surprising part of this whole crisis? If you found this useful, smash the like button and subscribe to Finance Made Simple for more real-world investing insights.